watching tonight. We have a very interesting show tonight. Tonight we have on our show Miss Elizabeth Dalia Racine, who is running for District Attorney of Douglas County. So let's welcome Dalia to the show. How you doing, Dalia?
Good, thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on the show. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born in New York.
Okay.
And I came to Georgia when I went to law school at Emory University back in 2000, and loved it so much and talked it over with my then boyfriend, now husband, and we decided to make it our home.
What prompted you to run for DA? I understand you were assistant DA,
Right.
I guess, in DeKalb County, right?
Correct.
What prompted you to want to come to Douglasville and run for DA out here?
Well, to be clear, I've been a Douglas County resident for quite some time now.
Okay.
I moved here 2 weeks before my twins were born. And I always say, thank you.
Okay.
I always say there's nothing better than having a new home to move into for a nesting mother. So I have a lot of connections to Douglas County. This is where my children go to school. This is where they play sports. This is where, you know, our doctors are, our dentists are, our medical professionals. This is where we've committed to improving the community that we live in. Since my time here, you know, like I said, we're involved with our kids' schools. I've coached the kids' teams here in Douglas County, so there's definitely a connection to the community. For me, the decision to run did not come lightly.
Okay.
I can't say that I've ever been one to have a lot of political aspirations. I do feel that God has given me the ability to serve as a prosecutor. He's given me the skill set to make sure that I do the right thing when it comes to the handling of those cases. And for me, it really became an issue of, you know, as a wife, as a mother, and as a prosecutor, I kept hearing the stories that were coming out of our county. And I knew that, quite simply, I could do better.
Right.
And I felt that I owed that to my community. I owed that to my neighbors. I owed that to my own family, that we have the best protection in place from our prosecutor's office.
I understand you're involved in a lot of things. As far as you're as a prosecutor, you are dealing with a lot of things that are going on in DeKalb County. And I'm assuming you're bringing those same concerns out here in Douglas County. You're dealing with people who have been raped and a lot of other things. Tell us about some of the things that you actually dealt with as a prosecutor.
Yeah, you know, I think being a prosecutor, you're constantly dealing with people who have experienced the worst thing of their life. My career has taken me through a lot of different types of cases. I've handled the drug cases, I've handled the aggravated assaults. And through the escalation in my career, I grew to start handling the crimes against women and children cases. And then from there, went on to handle homicide cases as well. You know, it takes that one case to really impact upon you as an individual, not as a prosecutor, as an individual, how important the work is that you do. And there's several that come to mind, but one in particular is when we worked homicides, we were not kind of stuck behind the desk. We would get called out to the homicide scenes. And there's one case in particular where we were called out. It was a late afternoon, early evening, and we go out there, and we typically just kind of go on scene, see what's going on, see what we could do to help out while staying out of the way of the investigators that are leading the investigation. And this one particular time, it was a domestic violence killing. Boyfriend had stabbed his girlfriend to death. Unfortunately, that's very common. We see it a lot, especially in the homicide unit.
Right.
But in this particular case, the woman was found by her child. It was actually 2 children that found her. And it's one of those cases that kind of burns into your memory, it's etched into your memory, because while processing the scene, they obviously wanted to interview the children because they were witnesses. And based on my experience that I had in crimes against women and children, I helped out with that. I was there to assist with the children and things that you want to ask right away, things that you don't want to ask right away. You know, there's a very unique approach when you're in that situation. And to this day, I remember sitting, and the little girl, her little daughter, was the one who found her. And I still remember to this day her coming up to me, and she wanted to sit on my lap. And she just looked at me and said, "I just want my mommy."
Right.
To me, there's no greater motivator to right that wrong.
That wrong, yeah.
We will never be able to bring that child's mother back. But there's something that ignites within you as a prosecutor,
Right.
that justice needs to be served.
Right. I've been a policeman myself, as a matter of fact. I was a Spartanburg, South Carolina policeman a long time ago. Probably real young at the time. But I can understand what you mean, because as a policeman, we all want to, it says protect and serve. You know, and in a sense, that's what prosecutors want to do also, protect and serve the public the way they should. And I've been on the side of, you know, defending someone and being on the side of sitting in the jury or sitting in the stands and actually making, you know, telling my story about, or telling the story about what happened, because I was doing undercover work. So, you know, I can understand, you know, that you really want to get the bad person off the street. Has there ever been a time, and I'm just asking because, has there ever been a time when, as a prosecutor, that people have, you know, you watch the stories on TV and you see it all the time, the prosecutor, you know, goes after someone and they're innocent. And you know, we've gone through that thing. There are a lot of innocent people in jail. Has it ever happened to you?
I could say that I am confident that the cases that I've handled, the cases, the numerous life convictions that I've secured, I have not had a doubt in my mind as to their guilt. The evidence was there, the testimony was there, and I think a lot of times what we see, especially with Innocence Project type cases, is it was maybe perhaps a faulty science that was relied upon that has now grown and become more accurate, things along those lines, typically DNA.
Right.
And so for me, I think that's why it's so important that, number one, your moral compass is pointed strongly and in the right direction. And number two, that you have a sense of integrity, that the work you produce is accurate. You know, you want to be sure that when you're prosecuting those cases, that you are doing the right thing.
Right. As a prosecutor, now I know you're running for DA here in Douglasville. Who are you running against right now? Who is it that you're running against? Do you know? I mean, I'm sure you probably know. Who are you running against, and what are you bringing to the table as opposed to what your opponent?
For me, the opponent is Brian Fortner, who is the current second in command of the office. And it's not about who I'm running against. It's about my qualifications. I have the experience. I've been in the trenches. I have been the one to handle hundreds of cases at one time based on the caseload. I am the one that has handled the complex cases. I have tried the murders. In 1 year alone, I tried 10 homicides to guilty conviction, resulting in life sentences on each of those defendants, at least life sentence, and a human trafficking case, which resulted in 3 consecutive life sentences plus 87 years. So the ability to try the cases is not an issue for me, and the complex ones. And to be clear, the secret is out about our wonderful community, about our wonderful county. And with that, inherently, more people comes more crime. And so we need to have a DA that is ready for that.
And you are the one for that, right?
I am the one for that. I am the one for that. And I think that it's really important that as a DA that you are able to differentiate between those that we are afraid of and those that we're mad at. And I think that's a very, very important distinction to make. And I think as DA, you have to be able to make that distinction. And I am able to make that distinction.
you know, like I said, we see a lot of, are you concerned about sometimes your safety when it comes to being a DA? You know, I almost said a woman DA, but because I mean, if I was a DA, I'd be concerned because they'll, you know, have you done any high profile cases that really make you concerned?
You know, in dealing with a lot of the homicide cases and even in crimes against women and children, there is that constant inherent threat. I was actually in Fulton County when the incident with Brian Nichols occurred. And that was, for those who may not be familiar with the courthouse shooting in Fulton County, I was pregnant with my first son. So I have a very tangible example of how things can go awry as a prosecutor in the criminal justice system. First and foremost, I have a strong faith that I feel cloaks me in that protection.
Yes, a relationship with God does matter.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think that you could do this job well without it. Because you need to rely on Him not only to get your job done, but to keep your faith in humanity. Because you, like I said, you only see the worst in people day in and day out. As far as making sure that we're protected, we're safe as a DA. Even as a DA's office, I think that involves a lot of things. I think that's making sure that your investigative staff is well prepared. It's making sure that you have a good courtroom awareness, and even in your everyday encounters, you just have a different lens that you look out of in your day-to-day operations. And so I've had the opportunity to deal with real killers on a frequent basis, and not just as defendants, but as witnesses. I've been to the prisons. I've been in those cells and talked to them and, you know, talked about right is right, wrong is wrong, and I need you to get on that stand, you have to testify. So I've been in those challenging situations with some of the most dangerous people in our society. But I just have a duty that whatever sacrifice must be made for personal safety, and of course you do the best that you can to ensure that you're personally safe, is worth keeping my community, my greater community, safe.
Your relationship with God, what church do you attend out here in Douglasville? You attend church in Douglasville?
I actually attend Berean Seventh-day Adventist, which is right inside of the perimeter.
Right
off of Holmes.
Right off Homes. Yeah, okay. It's good to know that because with the relationship, you know, it means so much. Not only me being a minister, it's good to meet people who have a relationship with Christ. That's a good thing. Because of your relationship, does it ever, you know, get to you sometime as a prosecutor? Does the sympathy or do you ever put yourself in that position sometimes saying, if I do this, you know, this man could, you know, that's the rest of his life, I'm saying. But does that ever weigh on you at any time, or do you just say, Lord, I'm doing what I have to do?
Well, you know, the scripture is abundant with verses to encourage those to obey the laws of the land.
Right, exactly.
That's God's will.
That's it.
And the law of our lands are very clear. And I feel that, like I said, you have to have that close relationship with God to understand what your parameters are, what your duty is in serving as a leader in your community, and more importantly, as a protector that has that power to take away someone's liberty. That's an awesome power.
Yeah, it
and
is.
with that comes an awesome responsibility.
To whom much is given, much is required.
Much is required.
You're
Absolutely.
right. When you, I met you when I met Sam Davis. We met at the Longhorn. When we met, Sam was very, very adamant about you running for DA here in Douglas County. Before you met Sam, was that something you thought about, or something you had desire to do, or did someone did Sam come ask you? Someone come ask you, why don't you run?
No, it was definitely an individual decision, and that's interesting that you say that because actually I recently went to an event that talked about women candidates, female candidates, and it was saying that a lot of times for female candidates we do have to be encouraged to run versus say our male counterparts who I don't want to say it's an entitlement, but more so of an assumption that it's okay for you to do it.
Right.
As a woman, sometimes it's the presumption of, well, don't you have kids to take care of? And I do. I do. I have 3
Yeah, that
little
gets
ones
me
at
too,
home.
yeah.
But I don't think that gender limits your responsibility to your community.
Exactly.
And for me, it was a personal decision that said, I can do better.
Mm-hmm.
My community deserves better than what it's getting.
Right.
And it did take a lot of prayer. It was not a decision that was made lightly. I asked God, I said, show me, this is what's meant to be. And he did. I talked it over with my husband. Because, you don't run as an individual, you run as a family,
Exactly.
right? And
exactly.
so, it's not just me that's put out there. It is my family that's put out there. And I would never jeopardize my family's safety.
Right.
But it was not a decision that was made lightly, but it was a decision that was made with determination and an obligation
Right.
to those that I will be serving, because I do believe in servant leadership.
Right.
I serve at the will of my constituents.
I know for a fact that you are, I read your bio, you're involved in a lot of things when it comes to domestic violence. And I know that has something to do with it. Because sometimes I myself get tired of seeing, the crime that we commit on one another. A lot of people say black on black crime or whatever the case may be, but the bottom line is, it's just crime.
Right.
My thing is, when it comes to you running and being a district attorney here in Douglasville, I know you're planning on winning the election. I know that's your desire.
Correct.
What type of backing do you have right now when it comes to, I know support, I'm saying support. You have a lot of support right now. I know you're still in the middle of the campaign. I know you have your campaign manager. Is that your campaign manager here?
She's one of the folks that's helping me out on the campaign trail.
Okay,
yes.
On the campaign trail. Do you have a lot of other help on the campaign trail?
We are beginning stages.
Okay.
We definitely recognize this is a marathon and not a sprint.
Okay.
Right now, what my focus is getting out into the community and listening.
Right.
I think that that's very important, because how do you know how to lead if you do not know what direction
Right.
the community is in? If you don't hear the voices of those that you are going to lead? I think that you become ineffective and you just spin your wheels.
Right.
So for right now, that is what I'm doing. But we do have a great team that's been created, that's been surrounding me, and I couldn't ask for better people.
That's good.
And it's been great. It's been really great. And the people, there's a lot of things about campaigning that you just you have no idea. I always liken it, at least when I'm explaining it to women. It's like childbirth. We read all about it,
Yeah.
and we hear all about it from others, but until you're in it, you have no idea.
Hey, I know, I can't say I know what you mean, but that's good, that's
Yeah.
good. I know for a fact that now that you're running, you have children, you say?
Yes.
How many do you have?
I have 3 children.
3 children, and what's their age range?
I have 6-year-old twins, boy-girl twins, and an
Wow.
8-year-old son.
Do they ever ask you about mommy being a DA? Do they ever talk to you about that?
It's I try to explain what I do in a child-appropriate way to my kids, and if anybody asks them, what does your mommy do? They tell them she puts away the bad guys. And there's some
Okay.
girls in there too, but
Okay.
but when I explain to them, what mommy's doing and why it's important, I think that they grasp it. And it was funny because my 6-year-old actually, and I didn't, talk to them about the procedures of voting and this, that, and
Right.
that. I just kind of glaze over it. They go with us every time we go to vote, so they understand the concept
Right.
of voting. So apparently, my 6-year-old's teacher called me up and told me that she did the cutest thing, because she said, can you please go vote for my mommy, because she wants to make sure that things are better here. So I thought that was great, because apparently they're comprehending a lot of what's going on.
Right.
And so it takes a toll on them. It's a sacrifice to everybody. They see me less especially during this campaigning time, but I wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth the sacrifice.
Exactly. I hear a lot of people don't understand the sacrifice that you make. A lot of nights away from home, and a lot of nights of, kids act, not right now, mommy has a lot to do,
Right.
and as a prosecutor, I know you have a lot to do. You will have a lot to do as Douglas County prosecutor. I don't know, like I said, I don't know who's winning the election or anything. I'm here to make sure that people recognize who Elizabeth Dalia Racine is, for her responsibility, what she feels her responsibilities are, so the community can actually see who you are, not just from you having to run around and say, let me meet this, but if it's okay, Facebook,
Yes.
YouTube, get it out, so people can actually see what you do. I know you were on the John Sanders show,
I was.
and John said I guess he had another guest on the show, but he said he had a lot of hits on his show from people watching the video. So
the first guest was great too.
yeah, the first guest, yeah, that's what he said. We had 2 guests, so he said a lot of hits from both guests, I'm assuming.
Yes.
But I really appreciate you coming on the show. I am going to make sure this gets out. If we have some technical difficulties, which I think we've had some, we're going to make sure this gets out on Facebook and YouTube. If you are watching and you had a chance for watching part of it and you didn't get a chance, here it is coming to you again, live from Tinseltown Studios. I'm your host, Douglas Level, with my guest, Elizabeth Dalia Racine. Go to her website. Give us a website where they can go look at your website.
Yeah, thank you. It's www.racine, RACINE2014.com.
I'm gonna have to put that on the page too. That's a long one. I got a business card from the other day.
Yes.
I guess you were intentionally leaving off the phone number?
At this point, yes.
Okay. Okay, because when I was with Sam said, can you call her? I said, okay. And I said, Sam.
There's no number.
There's no number. Did you catch it?
I did.
You did? Okay,
Yes.
because he said, I'm leaving now. I guess you were still at Willie Watkins.
Yes.
Talking to him. That's a great thing. I'm glad that you are running. I have yet to meet the other DA or have an interview with him, but I'm glad that you're running.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see some diversity here in Douglasville. I pray all works out well for you, but all we know is whatever the Lord's will is, right?
Amen.
He said, nevertheless, not my will, but his will be done. So I thank you for coming on my show. I thank you for your campaign assistant out here who's working with you. What's your name?
Bernadette Hernandez.
Bernadette Hernandez. I don't know. Do you want to come up, Bernadette?
No, sir.
No, okay. Bernadette's fine where she is. But if you see her around, her name is Bernadette Hernandez. She's actually helping Elizabeth Dalia Racine with the campaign. Do we call you Elizabeth Dalia Racine or do we call you Dalia? What's the best? Because that's a long.
It is whichever you prefer.
Whichever
but my full name, Elizabeth Dalia Racine.
Okay, all right. Well, okay. I thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being patient. I will see about getting a commercial with you, getting that done and getting out there. I just did one earlier today for a young lady named Sherry Nevins who did the Live Network Entertainment. Let you guys know the Live Network Entertainment. I put that on Facebook and YouTube, so make sure you watch the commercial that I put for Sherry Nevins. Also, I want to give a shout out to my family. I have a new family, the family of World Ventures. I don't know if you've heard of it. World Ventures is the best. It's multi-level marketing, but I'm telling you right now, it is the best. So if you're interested, give me a call, 404-910-6724. When you get old, you forget numbers sometimes. But we thank you for watching. Have a blessed evening, and I will thank my guests again. May God bless you. May God bless everyone here. Thank you so much for watching the show, and we'll see you next week. God bless you.